Hey there, and welcome back to the quiet corners of discovery. Tonight, we're not journeying to the farthest stars or the deepest oceans. Instead, we're turning inward to explore a universe that is closer than our own breath, yet more mysterious than any galaxy we can see through a telescope. We are venturing into the soft, silent, 3-pound cosmos nestled within our own heads, the human brain. It doesn't hum or glow. It makes no sound. Yet everything you have ever felt, every memory you cherish, every dream you've chased, and the very sense of you that is listening to my voice right now, was born in the quiet folds of this incredible organ. It is the architect of our reality, the weaver of our thoughts, and the silent composer of our lives. So for the next few moments, let go of the day. Let the world outside fade away. And let's drift into the enchanted loom, the city that never sleeps, the universe within. Fact 1. The brain is deceptively simple in substance. If you were to hold a living human brain in your hands, a strange and delicate thought, it wouldn't feel like a complex machine. It would feel fragile, almost like soft tofu or firm jelly. Its appearance is unassuming, a pale, pinkish-gray, intricately wrinkled orb. This humble appearance hides the most complex structure known in the universe. It weighs, on average, about 3 pounds, or roughly 1.4 kilograms. Think about that for a moment. Everything you are, your personality, your fears, your love for a particular song, your ability to understand these words, is contained within a small, fragile mass that weighs less than a bag of sugar. It makes up only about 2% of your total body weight, yet it is the hungriest organ you possess. Fact 2. Your brain is mostly water. It's a surprising and humbling fact that this powerhouse of thought and consciousness is composed of about 75% water. The very electricity that zips through your mind, carrying thoughts and commands, flows through a watery medium. Dehydration, even a small amount, can therefore have a noticeable impact on cognitive functions. It can shrink the brain tissue temporarily, affecting memory, attention, and decision-making. So, the simple act of drinking a glass of water is, in a very real sense, caring for the very fabric of your thoughts. The rest of the brain is made up of fats and proteins. In fact, the brain is the fattiest organ in the body, with at least 60% of its dry weight being fat. These aren't the fats you worry about in your diet. They are essential lipids that insulate its billions of cells, allowing them to communicate at incredible speeds. Fact 3. The brain contains a galaxy of neurons. Now, let's zoom in. Let's move past the overall structure and look at the citizens of this silent city. The primary, most famous residents are called neurons. These are the nerve cells, the messengers, the thinkers. For a long time, it was said we had 100 billion neurons, a nice round number. But a more precise 2015 study gave us a slightly more modest, yet no less staggering figure. The average human brain contains around 86 billion neurons. What does 86 billion even mean? If you were to count one neuron every second, it would take you over 3,000 years to count them all. It's a number that rivals the number of stars in our Milky Way galaxy. So, you can rightfully imagine that you are carrying a galaxy of potential, a celestial network of thought, within you right now. Each of these neurons is a tiny, living computer. It receives information, processes it, and passes it on. And it is the combined, coordinated symphony of these 86 billion cells firing in harmony that creates the masterpiece of your conscious experience. Fact 4. A neuron is a tree of life. Each of these neurons looks something like a tiny, intricate tree. It has a main cell body, which is its core. Sprouting from this body are branches called dendrites. The word dendrite comes from the Greek dendron, meaning tree, and that's exactly what they look like. A dense network of tiny, questing branches. Their job is to listen. They receive signals from thousands of other neurons. Then, each neuron has one long, slender cable extending away from its body. This is called the axon. The axon's job is not to listen, but to speak. When the neuron decides to fire, it sends an electrical pulse, a tiny spark of information, racing down its axon to communicate with other cells. Some of these axons are incredibly short, talking only to their immediate neighbors. Others can be astonishingly long, stretching from your brain down your spinal cord to move a toe, a single, unbroken cell over a meter in length. Fact 5. Brain signals travel at a dizzying range of speeds. The thought that travels down that axon is an electrical signal called an action potential. It's a blip of electricity, a wave of charged ions. The speed of this signal can vary dramatically. In some uninsulated nerve fibers, the signal may travel at a walking pace, around 1 or 2 meters per second. But in the most important, high-priority pathways, the axons are wrapped in a fatty coating we mentioned earlier, the myelin sheath. This myelin acts like the rubber insulation on an electrical wire. It doesn't just protect the axon, it allows the electrical signal to jump down the cable in a process called saltatory conduction. This boosts the signal's speed to an incredible 120 meters per second, or over 430 kilometers per hour, 268 miles per hour. That's faster than a Formula One race car. This is why you can touch a hot surface and your hand recoils instantly, long before you consciously register the feeling of pain. The signal for action has outraced the signal for awareness. Fact 6. The space between thoughts is as important as the thoughts themselves. So, a neuron sends a signal down its axon. But where does it go? It doesn't physically touch the next neuron. There is a gap. An infinitesimally small, yet profoundly important space called a synapse. It is a gap of about 20 nanometers, so small you could fit millions of them in the space of a pinhead. This gap is a frontier, a bridge that must be crossed. And it isn't crossed with electricity. When the electrical signal reaches the end of the axon, it triggers the release of tiny chemical messengers. These are the famous neurotransmitters, words you might have heard before, like dopamine, serotonin, and adrenaline. These chemicals flood across the synaptic gap and latch onto the dendrites of the next neuron, fitting into receptors like a key into a lock. Depending on the chemical and the receptor, this can either excite the next neuron, encouraging it to fire, or inhibit it, telling it to stay quiet. This is where the true magic of the brain lies. It's not just about firing signals, but about the subtle, impossibly complex dance of chemistry in these tiny gaps. It is in the synapse that learning happens, that memories are formed, and that our mood is regulated. It is the brain's chemical language. Fact 7. The number of connections is almost infinite. If the number of neurons, 86 billion, was hard to grasp, the number of synaptic connections will defy your imagination. Each neuron can form connections with thousands of other neurons. The result is a web of connectivity that is simply astronomical. A conservative estimate suggests there are over 100 trillion synapses in the human brain. Some estimates push that number closer to 1,000 trillion, or a quadrillion. Let's try to put that into perspective. 100 trillion is more than 1,000 times the number of stars in our galaxy. A single cubic centimeter of your brain tissue, a piece the size of a sugar cube, has more connections than all the stars in the Milky Way. This network is what scientists call the connectome. It is the wiring diagram of your mind. Every experience you have, every skill you learn, slightly alters this wiring. Learning to play the piano, speaking a new language, or even just remembering a new fact physically changes the strength and number of these connections. You are, quite literally, sculpting your own brain every moment of every day. Fact 8. Neurons are not the only cells in your brain. For centuries, neurons got all the attention. They were the stars of the show. But we now know that they are only half the story. The brain is also filled with another type of cell, called glial cells. The name glia comes from the Greek word for glue, because for a long time, scientists thought that's all they did, act as a passive glue holding the all-important neurons in place. We now know this couldn't be further from the truth. There are at least as many glial cells as neurons, and they are the unsung heroes of the brain. They are the caretakers, the bodyguards, the maintenance crew, and the support system for the neurons. There are different types of glial cells, each with a crucial job. Some act as the brain's immune system, seeking out and destroying invaders. Others supply neurons with oxygen and nutrients. Some, called astrocytes, help regulate and control the synapses, participating in the chemical conversations between neurons. And another type, the oligodendrocytes, are the ones that produce the myelin sheath, the fatty insulation that makes our thoughts run fast. Without glial cells, neurons couldn't function. They are the quiet, essential infrastructure that makes the city of the mind habitable. Fact 9. The brain has its own cleaning service that works while you sleep. One of the most vital jobs of the glial cells is to clean up. The brain is an incredibly active organ, and all that activity produces metabolic waste. Just like a busy city produces trash, your brain produces toxic byproducts that need to be cleared out. A special system, managed by glial cells and dubbed the glymphatic system, is responsible for this. And here is the beautiful part. This cleaning system is most active when you are asleep. While you are dreaming, your glial cells are hard at work, flushing out the waste products that have accumulated between the neurons during the day. This is one of the primary reasons why sleep is so crucial for brain health. It's not just about resting, it's about active, essential cleaning and maintenance. When you don't get enough sleep, this waste can build up, which is linked to that feeling of brain fog and, in the long term, may be connected to neurodegenerative diseases. So, as you drift off to sleep tonight, you can imagine a silent, diligent crew of microscopic cleaners, washing the pathways of your mind, preparing it for the clarity of a new day. Fact 10. Gray matter and white matter are not what they seem. You've likely heard the terms gray matter and white matter. These aren't just expressions, they refer to the two distinct types of tissue in the brain. The gray matter consists mainly of the neuronal cell bodies, the dendrites, and the synapses. This is where the processing happens, the computation, the thinking. It's the brain's computers. The white matter, on the other hand, is made up of the long, myelin-covered axons. Its white, fatty appearance comes from the myelin sheaths. The white matter isn't for thinking, it's for communicating. It's the brain's internet, the network of cables connecting the different gray matter regions to each other, sometimes across vast distances within the brain. The intricate balance and communication between these two tissues are what allow for complex behaviors, from language to art. It's a perfect partnership between processing centers and the superfast highways that connect them, a silent collaboration happening at every moment. And it is here, in this vast, interconnected network of water, fat, cells, and electricity, that our journey has just begun. We've looked at the building blocks, the microscopic world that forms the foundation of the mind. But how do these pieces come together to form the grand structures that govern our senses, our emotions, and our memories? The story continues in the larger architecture of this inner world, a story for another time. For now, just rest in the knowledge of the universe you carry within you, quietly humming with the electricity of life. Fact 11. The brain is a pattern-seeking machine. Your brain is constantly looking for patterns in the world around you. It's a fundamental survival mechanism. From the moment you are born, your brain is building a vast library of patterns. The rhythm of a song, the sequence of a friend's laugh, the grammatical structure of language, or the predictable change of seasons. This ability to find and create patterns is the foundation of learning and creativity. It's how you can recognize a familiar face in a crowd or understand a new sentence you've never heard before. Your brain is not just a storage device, it is an active prediction engine, constantly trying to guess what will happen next based on the patterns it has learned. Fact 12. Your brain has its own internal compass. Beyond navigating the external world, your brain has a built-in GPS system. Scientists discovered grid cells in the hippocampus, a brain region crucial for memory. These cells fire in a hexagonal pattern, creating a mental map of your surroundings. When you move through a room or a city, these cells track your position and orientation. This internal compass is what allows you to find your way back to your car in a large parking lot, even if you weren't consciously paying attention to landmarks. It's an ancient, evolutionary tool that has been refined over millennia to help us navigate and survive. Fact 13. The brain can rewire itself, neuroplasticity. For a long time, it was believed that the adult brain was a static, unchanging organ. We now know this is a myth. The brain is incredibly flexible and can change its structure and function throughout life. This ability is called neuroplasticity. When you learn a new skill, like juggling or a second language, your brain physically reorganizes its neural pathways. If one part of the brain is damaged, other parts can sometimes take over its functions. This remarkable adaptability is why rehabilitation can be so effective after a stroke or a traumatic brain injury. Your brain is not a finished product. It is a continuously evolving landscape, sculpted by every experience and thought. Fact 14. The brain's left and right halves are different but connected. You've probably heard the terms left-brained and right-brained. While this is a simplification, there is a fundamental difference in how the two hemispheres function. The left hemisphere is generally dominant in tasks involving language, logic, and sequential processing. The right hemisphere is more attuned to creativity, spatial awareness, and holistic, non-linear thinking. However, these two halves are not isolated. They are connected by a massive bundle of nerves called the corpus callosum, which acts like a superhighway, allowing them to constantly communicate and collaborate. True genius often comes from the seamless integration of both sides, where logical reasoning and creative insight work in perfect harmony. Fact 15. Your brain is more active at night than during the day. You might think your brain is resting when you're asleep, but it's actually buzzing with more activity than when you're awake. While you sleep, your brain is performing crucial tasks, like consolidating memories, learning from the day's experiences, and, as mentioned earlier, cleaning out toxic waste. During deep sleep, your brain replays the day's events, strengthening the neural connections for important information. This is why a good night's sleep is so vital for learning and memory retention. It's not passive rest, it's a period of intense, vital work that happens behind the scenes. Fact 16. The brain can hallucinate to fill in missing information. Your brain doesn't just process what your senses tell it, it actively constructs your reality. When you look at the world, your brain takes in a limited amount of data and fills in the rest based on its past experiences and expectations. This can be seen in optical illusions, where your brain sees something that isn't really there. In extreme cases, this predictive power can lead to hallucinations. This isn't always a sign of mental illness. For example, the phantom limb phenomenon, where an amputee feels sensations in a missing limb, is a form of hallucination where the brain's internal map of the body hasn't been updated to match physical reality. Fact 17. Your brain has mirror neurons. Have you ever winced when you saw someone else get a paper cut? Or felt a surge of excitement when a crowd cheers? This is likely due to mirror neurons. These special brain cells fire not only when you perform an action, but also when you observe someone else performing the same action. They are the neurological basis for empathy and imitation, allowing us to understand and share the feelings of others. Mirror neurons are believed to play a key role in social learning, language acquisition, and our ability to connect with others on a deep, emotional level. They are the quiet, neurological link that binds us together as a species. Fact 18. Fear can hijack your brain. When your brain perceives a threat, a small, almond-shaped region called the amygdala takes over. This is the brain's alarm system. It can bypass the logical, conscious parts of your brain and trigger an immediate fight or flight response. This is why in moments of extreme fear, you might act impulsively before you have time to think. Adrenaline is released, your heart rate increases, and your senses become hyper-focused. This powerful, primal response is an evolutionary relic designed for survival in a dangerous world, but it can also be a source of anxiety and panic in the modern world, where the threats are rarely a saber-toothed tiger. Fact 19. The brain's memory capacity is virtually limitless. While your brain might sometimes feel like it's full, its storage capacity is astronomical. Scientists estimate the human brain can store up to 2.5 petabytes of data. To put that in perspective, that's equivalent to 3 million hours of TV shows. You could have your TV on 24 hours a day for over 300 years and still not reach the limit of your brain storage. Our memory is not like a hard drive, where you fill it up and then have to delete old files. Instead, memories are formed by creating new connections between neurons, and the more connections you make, the more space you create. Fact 20. The brain is a social organ. Your brain is not designed to be isolated. It is profoundly shaped by your social interactions. From birth, your brain is wired to seek out connection and belonging. The same brain regions that process physical pain also process social rejection. Being a part of a community and having strong relationships can improve brain health and cognitive function, while social isolation can have a negative impact. The human brain, in all its complexity, is fundamentally a product of connection, communication, and collaboration. It is in the shared universe of human experience that its true potential is unlocked. Fact 21. The brain can change its wiring to reduce pain. Chronic pain is not just a physical sensation, it's a complex experience heavily influenced by the brain. When pain signals are sent repeatedly, the brain can actually rewire its pain pathways, making them more sensitive over time. This is why chronic pain can persist long after the initial injury has healed. However, the brain's plasticity can also be used to our advantage. Therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy and mindfulness meditation work by helping the brain create new, less sensitive pathways for processing pain. They teach the brain to turn down the volume on pain signals, demonstrating that our perception of pain is not fixed but can be actively shaped by our thoughts and focus. This ability highlights the profound mind-body connection and the brain's incredible capacity to heal and adapt. Fact 22. Your brain has a default mode network. When you're not actively focusing on a specific task, your brain doesn't just shut down. Instead, a specific network of brain regions, known as the default mode network, DMN, becomes highly active. The DMN is involved in a range of internal processes, such as daydreaming, mind-wandering, remembering the past, and thinking about the future. It's the network responsible for your sense of self and for processing your own thoughts and emotions. While sometimes seen as a distraction, the DMN is crucial for creativity and problem-solving, as it allows your brain to make connections between seemingly unrelated ideas. It's the silent, continuous hum of consciousness that underpins your subjective experience of the world. Fact 23. The brain's emotional center is also crucial for decision-making. For a long time, emotions were seen as a hindrance to rational thought. However, neuroscientists now know that emotion is an essential component of sound decision-making. A brain region called the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, which integrates emotional signals from the body and the environment, plays a critical role. Patients with damage to this area struggle with even simple decisions, often spending hours deliberating over trivial choices like what to eat for lunch. This is because emotional cues, such as a gut feeling or a past negative experience, provide a shortcut that helps us make quick, effective choices. Our emotions are not just reactions, they are a vital form of data that our brain uses to navigate the complexities of daily life. Fact 24. Your brain has a built-in reward system. Dopamine, often called the pleasure chemical, is the star of the brain's reward system. This system motivates us to seek out things that are essential for survival, like food, water, and social connection. When we engage in these activities, our brain releases dopamine, creating a feeling of pleasure that reinforces the behavior. However, this system can also be hijacked. Addictive behaviors, from drug use to gambling, exploit the reward system by triggering an unnaturally large release of dopamine, leading to a compulsive desire to repeat the behavior. Understanding this system is key to understanding motivation, habit formation, and addiction, revealing how our brain's ancient survival mechanisms can be both a blessing and a curse in the modern world. Fact 25. The brain can create and alter memories. Memories are not static recordings of the past. Each time you recall a memory, your brain reconstructs it, often influenced by your current emotions, context, and subsequent events. This process is known as memory reconsolidation. This means that memories are surprisingly fragile and can be altered, either intentionally or unintentionally. For example, therapists can use this principle to help people with PTSD by having them recall a traumatic memory in a safe environment, allowing the brain to rewrite the emotional component of the memory. This constant process of revision explains why we can sometimes misremember details or even create entirely new, false memories without realizing it. Fact 26. The brain can experience flow state. Have you ever been so engrossed in a task that you lose all track of time and self-awareness? This is a neurological phenomenon known as a flow state. During flow, your brain enters a state of optimal performance where the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for self-judgment and critical thinking, temporarily deactivates. This allows you to act more intuitively and creatively, without the inner critic getting in the way. At the same time, the brain releases a cocktail of neurochemicals, including dopamine and endorphins, that make the experience intensely rewarding. Flow is not just a feeling, it is a measurable brain state that maximizes our productivity, focus, and sense of fulfillment. Fact 27. Your brain is genetically pre-wired for language. While we learn specific languages, the fundamental architecture for language is hardwired into our brains from birth. A region in the left frontal lobe called Broca's area is critical for speech production. while a nearby region called Wernicke's area is essential for understanding language. These areas work together in a complex network to allow us to communicate. This genetic predisposition is why all human languages share certain universal features and why babies are capable of learning any language they are exposed to. The brain is, in essence, a language-ready machine, waiting to be activated by the spoken word. Fact 28. The brain's sense of touch is remarkably complex. Our sense of touch is far more intricate than simply feeling pressure. The brain contains a detailed sensory map of the body called the somatosensory cortex, where different regions of the body are represented in proportion to their sensitivity. For example, the hands and face take up a disproportionately large area of this map because they are so crucial for our interaction with the world. Furthermore, the brain can distinguish between a gentle caress, a sharp poke, and a warm sensation, each processed by a different set of neural pathways. This intricate mapping system allows us to interpret a vast range of tactile information, from the texture of silk to the precise location of a mosquito bite. Fact 29. Your brain is an experience simulator. Before you ever make a move, your brain is running countless simulations. When you think about an action, like reaching for a cup of coffee, your brain activates the same motor pathways it would use to actually perform the action. This mental rehearsal is a form of learning without physical movement. Olympic athletes use this technique, visualizing a perfect performance to strengthen the neural connections for the movements they will execute. This ability to simulate experience is a powerful tool for planning, problem-solving, and skill development, allowing your brain to test out different scenarios and predict outcomes before committing to a course of action. Fact 30. The brain has an inner pharmacy. Your brain is a masterful chemist, capable of producing its own powerful drugs. When you exercise, your brain releases endorphins, which act as natural painkillers and mood elevators, creating the runner's high. When you laugh, your brain releases a similar blend of feel-good chemicals. Our bodies have receptors for these natural chemicals that are similar to the receptors for external drugs. This inner pharmacy provides a powerful explanation for why activities like exercise, meditation, and social connection are so effective at boosting our mental and emotional well-being. It is a testament to the brain's incredible capacity to regulate and heal itself from within. Fact 31. The brain's emotional signature is unique to you. While we all feel emotions like joy, sadness, and fear, the way our brain processes and experiences them is as unique as a fingerprint. Neuroscientists have discovered that the specific neural networks and patterns of activity that light up in your brain when you feel an emotion are distinct from anyone else's. Your unique emotional signature is shaped by your genetics, your life experiences, and your personal history of emotional regulation. This is why two people can have the same experience, say, listening to a particular song, and one feels overwhelming nostalgia while the other feels nothing at all. This individuality in emotional processing also explains why some people are more resilient in the face of stress, while others are more susceptible to anxiety and depression. Your brain's emotional landscape is a deeply personal and continuously evolving map. Fact 32. The brain can predict the future. Your brain is not just reacting to the present, it's constantly predicting what will happen next. This predictive coding is a core function of the brain and is what allows you to act quickly and efficiently. For example, when you catch a ball, your brain calculates its trajectory in real time, predicting exactly where and when it will arrive, even before your eyes can fully process its movement. This ability is so fundamental that a significant amount of your brain's energy is dedicated to it. When your predictions are wrong, you feel a sense of surprise, and your brain's prediction circuits are immediately updated. This continuous cycle of prediction and correction is the engine of all learning and adaptation, from mastering a sport to understanding a conversation. 33. The brain's body map is constantly being updated. Your brain contains a detailed, internal map of your body, known as the homunculus, Latin for little man. This map, located in the somatosensory cortex, represents every part of your body. However, this map is not static. When you learn to play an instrument, the area of your cortex dedicated to your fingers can expand. If a finger is amputated, the brain can, over time, reassign that territory to other body parts, like a neighboring finger or the face. This incredible malleability of the body map explains phenomena like the phantom limb sensation, where the brain still feels a missing limb because its map has yet to be fully updated. The homunculus is a testament to the brain's ability to constantly remap and reconfigure itself to match the changing reality of your physical body. 34. The brain can process information without your awareness. A significant amount of your brain's work happens on autopilot, below the level of conscious thought. For example, when you're driving a car, your brain is processing countless details: the speed of other cars, the color of the traffic light, the position of your hands on the wheel, without you having to consciously think about them. This is because these tasks have become habits, processed by the cerebellum and basal ganglia. This subconscious processing allows your conscious mind to focus on more complex tasks, like having a conversation or navigating a new route. It's the brain's way of creating efficiency, freeing up mental bandwidth for higher-level thinking. 35. Your brain's imagination is almost indistinguishable from reality. When you vividly imagine an experience, your brain activates many of the same neural circuits as when you actually have that experience. For example, imagining playing the piano can strengthen the motor circuits in your brain in a way that is similar to actually playing. This is why mental rehearsal is such a powerful tool for athletes and performers. The brain doesn't always distinguish between a real event and a powerfully imagined one, which is why your heart can race when you simply think about a frightening situation. This overlap between imagination and reality underscores the power of visualization and the mind's ability to create powerful, tangible changes in your body and behavior. 36. The brain's memory network is a collaborative system. Memories aren't stored in a single place. Instead, they are distributed across a vast network of brain regions. The hippocampus acts as a central hub, initially consolidating new memories before they are moved to other parts of the cortex for long-term storage. A single memory, such as a childhood vacation, might be a complex tapestry of sensory details, emotions, and facts stored in different areas. The visual cortex for the images, the auditory cortex for the sounds, and the amygdala for the feelings. This distributed network makes memories more resilient. Even if one part of the brain is damaged, other parts can still hold onto fragments of the memory. 37. The brain has its own thermostat for social connection. Your brain has a built-in system for regulating your social needs. A hormone called oxytocin, often called the love hormone, plays a crucial role in bonding and trust. It's released when you hug a loved one, during childbirth, and in moments of social connection. Oxytocin doesn't just make you feel good, it also increases empathy and prosocial behavior. Your brain's social thermostat works to maintain a healthy level of connection, and a lack of social interaction can trigger a stress response, similar to a lack of food or water. This demonstrates that for the human brain, social connection is not a luxury, but a fundamental biological need. 38. The brain can create emotional shortcuts. Your brain is incredibly efficient at making rapid judgments about people and situations. These are often based on emotional shortcuts formed by past experiences. For example, if you once had a negative encounter with a person who wore a specific type of hat, your brain might automatically and subconsciously trigger a feeling of caution whenever you see someone else wearing a similar hat. This process, driven by the amygdala and prefrontal cortex, allows you to make split-second decisions and avoid potential threats. While these shortcuts can be incredibly useful for survival, they are also the basis for unconscious biases and prejudices, highlighting the brain's trade-off between speed and accuracy. 39. Your brain can repair itself with brain-derived neurotrophic factor. For a long time, it was believed that the brain couldn't grow new neurons. We now know that in some brain regions, a process called neurogenesis is possible. This process is supported by a crucial protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. BDNF acts like a fertilizer for the brain, promoting the growth of new neurons and the strengthening of existing ones. Activities like exercise, learning a new skill, and social interaction have been shown to increase BDNF levels. This means that you can actively support your brain's own repair and growth, providing a powerful biological basis for the idea that a healthy lifestyle is key to a healthy mind. 40. The brain can be tuned by sound and music. Music is far more than just entertainment. It can profoundly alter your brain's chemistry and structure. Listening to music activates multiple brain regions, including the auditory cortex, motor cortex, for rhythm, and emotional centers. Familiar music can trigger powerful memories, as the brain links sounds with emotional events. Beyond that, Music has a measurable effect on brain waves. For example, certain beats can induce a meditative, relaxed state, while others can energize you. The ability of sound to tune the brain and influence mood is so powerful that music therapy is now used to treat conditions ranging from anxiety to Parkinson's disease, showing how the brain responds to an external, orchestrated world. Fact 41. Your brain can be trained to be more mindful. Mindfulness isn't just a trendy concept. It's a skill that can be developed by intentionally rewiring your brain. Neuroimaging studies show that consistent mindfulness practices, like meditation, lead to measurable changes in brain structure. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for focus and executive function, becomes thicker and more active. The amygdala, the brain's fear center, becomes less reactive, reducing your stress response. Mindfulness strengthens the connections between these regions, allowing you to observe your thoughts and emotions without being overwhelmed by them. It's like building a muscle. The more you practice paying attention to the present moment, the better your brain gets at it. This training can lead to improved emotional regulation, reduced anxiety, and a greater sense of well-being. Fact 42. The brain has a built-in pleasure center. The brain's reward system, primarily driven by dopamine, is so powerful that it creates a pleasure center that can be activated by a wide range of stimuli. This center, which includes regions like the nucleus accumbens, is a key player in our motivation and enjoyment of life. It's what makes eating a delicious meal, listening to a favorite song, or seeing a loved one so satisfying. However, this same system is also what makes us vulnerable to addiction. Highly addictive substances, like opioids and cocaine, flood the nucleus accumbens with dopamine, creating an intense, artificial high that bypasses the natural reward system and can lead to compulsive, destructive behaviors. Fact 43. The brain creates your sense of time. Your sense of time isn't a simple measurement. It's a subjective experience created by your brain. There is no single clock in the brain. Instead, multiple brain regions, including the cerebellum, the basal ganglia, and the prefrontal cortex, work together to track the passage of time. When you are engaged in an activity you enjoy, your brain's perception of time speeds up, and hours can feel like minutes. Conversely, when you are bored or anxious, your brain focuses on the slow passage of events, making every minute feel like an eternity. This malleability of time perception highlights that our reality is not just about what we experience, but how our brain interprets and constructs that experience. Fact 44. The brain's capacity for awe and wonder is foundational. The feeling of awe, that breathtaking sense of being in the presence of something vast and beautiful, is a powerful cognitive and emotional experience. When you feel awe, your brain's default mode network, the self-referential part of your brain, temporarily quiets down. This allows you to feel less focused on your own concerns and more connected to the larger world. Experiencing awe has been shown to improve mood, increase prosocial behavior, and reduce inflammation. It's a fundamental human emotion that evolved to help us see ourselves as part of a larger whole, encouraging cooperation and community. Whether it's looking at the stars or standing before a natural wonder, the feeling of awe is a profound reset for the brain. Fact 45. The brain's spiritual experiences can be mapped. Even the most profound spiritual or mystical experiences, such as a deep sense of oneness or a connection to a higher power, have been linked to specific brain activity. These experiences often involve a quieting of the parietal lobe, the region of the brain that helps you orient yourself in space and distinguish between yourself and the outside world. When this region becomes less active, the brain can lose its sense of a clear boundary between the self and others, leading to a feeling of interconnectedness. This neurological basis doesn't diminish the power of these experiences. Rather, it offers a window into how the human brain is wired for transcendence and a deeper connection with the universe. Fact 46. The brain can experience synesthesia. For some people, the senses are not separate but are intimately linked in a phenomenon called synesthesia. A synesthete might literally see colors when they hear music, or taste shapes. This occurs when a cross-wiring of brain regions causes stimulation in one sensory pathway to automatically trigger a response in another. While rare, synesthesia provides a powerful illustration of the brain's interconnectedness and the fluidity of its sensory maps. It shows us that our perception of reality is not fixed. For some, the world is a multisensory symphony where words have flavors and numbers have personalities. Fact 47. the brain can predict your movements before you do. Long before you consciously decide to act, your brain has already made the decision. Studies have shown that a few hundred milliseconds before a person makes a simple, voluntary movement like pushing a button, their brain's promotor cortex and supplementary motor area show a burst of activity. This suggests that the brain is preparing for the action before you even become aware of your intention. This readiness potential challenges our traditional understanding of free will and consciousness, raising the question of whether our conscious choice is a result of a process already set in motion by the silent, unconscious workings of the brain. Fact 48. Your brain has an inner critic. That voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough or that you're going to fail is a product of your brain's default mode network and its self-referential nature. While this inner critic can be a source of anxiety, it also serves a purpose. It's part of the brain's mechanism for self-reflection and a way to anticipate potential social or personal failures. However, when it becomes overly critical, it can harm your mental health. Learning to observe this voice without judgment and to cultivate a more compassionate inner dialogue is a key part of cognitive behavioral therapy, showing how we can intentionally reshape even the most deeply ingrained thought patterns. Fact 49. The brain's placebo effect is a real phenomenon. The placebo effect is not just all in your head, it's a powerful demonstration of the brain's ability to heal itself. When you believe a treatment will work, your brain can release its own natural pain relievers, endorphins, and other neurochemicals that mimic the effects of the actual medication. This shows that the mere expectation of a positive outcome can trigger a cascade of real, physiological changes in your body. The placebo effect highlights the incredible power of the brain's belief system and its capacity to directly influence health and well-being. It is a testament to the mind's ability to directly influence the body. Fact 50. The brain's language is a combination of nature and nurture. While the human brain is genetically pre-wired for language, fact 27, the specific languages we learn are a product of our environment and social interaction. A baby's brain is a universal listener, capable of distinguishing all the sounds of all the world's languages. However, as the baby is exposed to their native language, the brain specializes, strengthening the neural pathways for those sounds and pruning away the pathways for others. This is why it becomes so much harder to learn a new language with a different set of sounds as an adult. This process of specialization and pruning shows how our brain's innate potential is molded by the unique cultural and linguistic universe in which we are raised. Fact 51. The brain can create emotional memory before factual memory. When you experience a significant event, your brain often lays down an emotional memory before the factual details are fully processed. This is handled by the amygdala, which acts as a powerful alarm system, instantly tagging events with an emotional charge, positive or negative. This is why you might remember exactly how you felt during a major life event, but the specific details of what happened might be blurry. For example, you might vividly recall the feeling of excitement on your graduation day, even if you can't remember who you spoke to or what was said. This emotional first processing is an evolutionary adaptation. It's more important for your survival to remember how you felt about a dangerous situation than to recall the exact color of the predator. It's the brain's way of ensuring that crucial emotional lessons are learned quickly and indelibly. Fact 52. Your brain has an inner pharmacy for stress. When you are under stress, your brain releases a cascade of powerful hormones, including cortisol and adrenaline. While these chemicals are essential for the fight or flight response, prolonged exposure can be toxic to the brain, damaging the hippocampus and impairing memory and learning. However, your brain has a built-in mechanism to counteract this. Activities like physical exercise, meditation, and even laughter can trigger the release of natural stress relievers like endorphins and serotonin. These chemicals not only make you feel good but also help repair the damage caused by chronic stress. This biological inner pharmacy shows that we have the power to actively manage our stress response by engaging in behaviors that promote our brain's natural healing processes. Fact 53. The brain's visual system fills in the blanks. You might think your eyes are like a camera, capturing a perfect image of the world. In reality, your brain actively constructs what you see. Your eye has a natural blind spot where the optic nerve connects to the retina, and yet you never notice a hole in your vision. This is because your brain immediately and unconsciously fills in the missing information based on the surrounding visual data and its past experiences. This predictive power extends to a variety of visual illusions, where your brain's expectations cause you to see movement or shapes that aren't actually there. This is a profound testament to the brain's role as a proactive reality architect, constantly interpreting and completing the sensory information it receives. Fact 54. The brain can prune itself for efficiency. During childhood and adolescence, the brain produces an excess of synaptic connections, creating a period of explosive learning. But as we grow older, the brain enters a crucial phase of synaptic pruning, where it systematically gets rid of connections that are not frequently used. This is not a bad thing. In fact, it is a vital process that makes the brain more efficient. By eliminating unnecessary pathways, the brain strengthens the most important ones, allowing for faster and more refined thought. This process explains why adolescents often struggle with emotional regulation, as their brains are still in the midst of this massive reorganization. Synaptic pruning shows that in the brain's grand design, less can often be more. Fact 55. Your brain has a built-in motivation filter. Every moment, your brain is bombarded with an overwhelming amount of information. To prevent sensory overload, it has a built-in filter, a process called attentional filtering. The brain decides what is important to pay attention to based on your current goals and motivations. For example, if you are hungry, your brain will be more likely to notice the smell of food. A key player in this process is the basal ganglia, which helps to prioritize tasks and thoughts. This system is what allows you to tune out the noise in a crowded room to focus on a single conversation. It is a fundamental part of how your brain manages its resources and directs your focus toward what truly matters to you. Fact 56. The brain can simulate the feelings of others. Beyond mirror neurons, fact 17, your brain has an even more sophisticated system for empathy. When you see someone else in pain, your brain activates the same regions that would light up if you were feeling that pain yourself. This shared pain mechanism, primarily involving the anterior cingulate cortex, allows you to not only understand another person's emotions but to truly feel them as if they were your own. This ability is the neurological basis for compassion and is what allows us to form deep, meaningful connections with others. It highlights that the brain is not an isolated unit of thought. It is a fundamentally social organ, wired to connect with and feel for the people around it. Fact 57. The brain can create false memories. While memories are not perfect recordings, the brain's ability to create entirely false ones is particularly fascinating. In some experiments, researchers have been able to convince people that they had an experience that never actually happened, such as getting lost in a mall as a child. This can occur because the brain's memory retrieval process is so reconstructive. When you are given new information or a suggestion, your brain can mistakenly weave that information into an existing memory, making it feel real. This phenomenon underscores the fragility of our memory and highlights the importance of eyewitness testimony and the malleability of what we believe to be our personal history. Fact 58. The brain has an emotional braking system. While the amygdala acts as the brain's accelerator for emotions, the prefrontal cortex acts as the brake. The connections between these two regions allow you to regulate your emotions and think rationally in a stressful situation. When you feel a surge of anger, for example, your prefrontal cortex can step in and tell the amygdala to calm down, allowing you to choose a more thoughtful response instead of an impulsive one. This emotional braking system is what separates us from many other animals and is crucial for impulse control, long-term planning, and social interactions. It's a key part of your ability to manage your inner world and navigate the complexities of life. Fact 59. The brain's dreams are a form of offline processing. Dreams are not just random, meaningless thoughts. They are a vital form of offline processing for the brain. During dreaming sleep, REM sleep, the brain is highly active, consolidating memories, processing emotional experiences, and rehearsing skills. The brain also uses this time to make creative connections between unrelated ideas, which is why you can sometimes wake up with a solution to a problem you were struggling with the day before. The bizarre and often illogical nature of dreams is a result of the brain's suspension of its logical, waking state filters. Dreams are a fascinating window into the brain's silent, essential work of making sense of your world while you sleep. Fact 60. The brain can change its moral compass. Your moral beliefs are not fixed in stone. They are a product of your brain's unique wiring and are influenced by your experiences. The right temporoparietal junction, TPJ, is a brain region that is crucial for moral reasoning, as it helps you consider other people's perspectives and intentions. However, the moral judgments you make are also shaped by your social group and cultural background, which physically strengthens certain neural pathways over others. This means that a person's moral compass can change over time through life experiences or even through intentional practice, showing that our sense of right and wrong is not a rigid principle, but a dynamic and evolving neurological process. Fact 61. The brain can experience phantom sounds. Just as a person can feel a phantom limb after an amputation, the brain can also create phantom sounds. The most common example is tinnitus, a persistent ringing or buzzing in the ears that has no external source. This happens when the brain's auditory cortex, which processes sound, becomes hyperactive, essentially turning up the volume on internal neural noise. The brain is so used to receiving a certain level of sound input that when that input is reduced, due to hearing loss, it compensates by creating its own noise. This phenomenon shows that our perception of the world is not just a passive reception of sensory information, but an active construction by the brain, even when the data is not there. Fact 62. Your brain has a sensory blending mechanism. Your brain has a remarkable ability to integrate information from multiple senses to create a single, coherent experience. For example, when you eat a meal, your brain combines taste from your tongue, smell from your nose, and texture from your mouth to create the overall perception of flavor. This is why food can taste bland when you have a cold and your sense of smell is compromised. The brain's ability to seamlessly blend sensory information is a crucial part of our daily experience. It allows us to perceive the world as a unified whole, rather than as a fragmented collection of sights, sounds, and smells. This complex integration happens in a brain region called the temporal parietal junction, highlighting the brain's constant work to build a cohesive reality for us. Fact 63. The brain can heal itself with a placebo surgery. The placebo effect is so powerful that it can even extend to sham surgeries. In these studies, patients with chronic conditions, such as knee pain, undergo a fake operation where the surgeon makes an incision but doesn't actually perform the procedure. In some cases, these patients report the same level of pain relief as those who received the real surgery. This is not a sign that the pain was all in their head. Instead, it is a testament to the brain's incredible capacity to trigger its own healing processes in response to a powerful belief. When the brain expects to heal, it can release its own natural painkillers and anti-inflammatory chemicals, creating a real, physiological change in the body. This phenomenon underscores the profound and often underestimated connection between our mind and our body. Fact 64. Your brain has an inner storyteller. Your brain is a masterful storyteller, constantly narrating your life and giving meaning to your experiences. A specific brain region, the left hemisphere's interpreter, is responsible for this. It takes the various bits of information, memories, emotions, and sensory input, and weaves them into a coherent narrative of who you are and why you do what you do. For example, if you trip and fall, your brain's interpreter will quickly come up with an explanation: I was rushing, or the sidewalk was uneven. This constant storytelling is what gives us our sense of identity and purpose, even if the stories we tell ourselves aren't always perfectly accurate. It's how the brain makes sense of the world and our place in it. Fact 65. The brain's moral center is found in the prefrontal cortex. While our moral beliefs are shaped by culture and experience, the neurological basis for making moral judgments resides primarily in the prefrontal cortex. This region, which is responsible for impulse control, long-term planning, and weighing consequences, allows us to override selfish impulses for the greater good. Damage to this area can lead to a significant change in a person's moral behavior, as they may struggle to feel empathy or consider the feelings of others. This is a key difference between the human brain and that of other species, and it's what allows us to form complex societies based on shared values and cooperation. Fact 66. The brain can rehearse conversations. Before you even open your mouth to speak, your brain is already rehearsing what you're going to say. A specific part of the brain, the Broca's area, is not just for speech production. It also acts as a kind of mental practice space. When you are planning to say something, Broca's area helps you formulate the words, structure the sentence, and anticipate the flow of the conversation. This mental rehearsal is a form of motor learning, similar to how an athlete mentally practices a move before doing it. It's the reason why you can often have a conversation in your head long before you ever say a word out loud. Fact 67. Your brain has a self-correction mechanism. The human brain is a perpetual learning machine, and a core part of this is its ability to learn from its mistakes. When you make an error, a signal is sent to your prefrontal cortex, which works to update your understanding and prevent you from making the same mistake in the future. This feedback loop is what allows you to adapt and improve at any skill, from learning to play an instrument to navigating a social situation. This self-correction mechanism is a fundamental part of our intelligence and is what allows us to learn from experience and become better versions of ourselves. Fact 68. The brain can decide what you hear. When you are in a crowded room with many people talking, your brain has the remarkable ability to filter out all the noise and focus on a single voice. This is called the cocktail party effect, and it's a powerful example of the brain's selective attention. Your brain's auditory cortex can process multiple streams of sound at once, but your prefrontal cortex actively decides which one is important and directs your attention to it. This ability to actively filter and focus is what prevents us from being overwhelmed by the constant barrage of sensory information and allows us to have meaningful conversations even in noisy environments. Fact 69. The brain's imaginary world is neurologically real. When you read a book and imagine the characters, the settings, and the events, your brain activates many of the same regions that would be active if you were actually experiencing them. Reading about a character running, for example, can activate your motor cortex in a way that is similar to actually running. This is a profound testament to the power of imagination. The brain doesn't just process reality, it can also create and experience entire worlds within itself. This ability to live in a fictional world is why stories can have such a profound impact on our emotions and why reading can be so immersive and enriching. Fact 70. Your brain has a natural high mechanism. Your brain is a masterful chemist, capable of producing its own powerful drugs that can create a feeling of euphoria. When you laugh, exercise, or have a meaningful social connection, your brain releases endorphins, which act as natural painkillers and mood elevators. These chemicals bind to the same receptors as opioid drugs, which is why they can produce a feeling of well-being and pain relief. This natural high mechanism is a fundamental part of our biology, and it provides a powerful biological basis for why activities like exercise, social connection, and laughter are so essential for our mental health. It's the brain's way of rewarding behaviors that are good for us and encouraging us to repeat them.
Elbette, beynin gizemli dünyasına dair daha fazla detaya inmeye devam edelim. Her bir maddeyi 250 kelime civarında, derinlemesine ve detaylı bir şekilde işleyerek metni genişletiyorum.
Fact 71. Your brain can be hypnotized by rhythmic sound. Rhythmic sound, from the beat of a drum to the steady tempo of a metronome, can profoundly influence your brain's state. When you listen to a consistent rhythm, your brain waves, the electrical pulses that govern your brain activity, can begin to synchronize with that rhythm, a process known as brainwave entrainment. This is why listening to calm, slow music can help you relax, or why a fast, driving beat can make you feel energized. This phenomenon is also the neurological basis for how meditation and binaural beats can be used to induce specific states of mind, from deep relaxation to heightened focus. The brain is not a passive listener, it actively tunes itself to the rhythms of the world around it, allowing sound to act as a powerful tool for mood and consciousness regulation. Fact 72. The brain can fill in missing senses. When a person loses a sense, like sight or hearing, the brain doesn't just sit idle. Instead, it can repurpose the unused sensory cortex for other functions. For example, a person who is blind from birth might use the visual cortex, normally dedicated to sight, to process touch and sound. Studies have shown that blind individuals can have a heightened sense of hearing or touch, with their brains creating more sophisticated neural maps for these senses. This remarkable phenomenon, known as cross-modal plasticity, demonstrates the brain's incredible capacity for adaptability. It's a powerful testament to the idea that the brain is not a static machine but a dynamic, ever-changing landscape that can be rewired to compensate for a loss. Fact 73. The brain can experience out-of-body experiences. The feeling of floating outside of one's body, a phenomenon reported in near-death experiences and various altered states of consciousness, has a neurological basis. Scientists have found that these experiences can be triggered by stimulating a specific brain region called the temporoparietal junction, TPJ. The TPJ's main job is to integrate information from your body and your senses to create a coherent sense of self. When this region is disrupted, either by electrical stimulation or a lack of oxygen, the brain can lose its ability to create a clear boundary between the self and the external world. This can lead to the disorienting, yet profound, sensation of floating outside of your own body, highlighting how fragile our sense of self truly is. Fact 74. Your brain has a negativity bias. Your brain is hardwired to pay more attention to negative information than to positive information. This negativity bias is an evolutionary leftover. In a dangerous world, it was more important for your survival to remember a threat than to remember a pleasant meal. This bias explains why a single negative comment can feel so much more impactful than a dozen positive ones, and why bad news tends to be more memorable than good news. However, while this bias once served a crucial purpose, it can be a source of anxiety and unhappiness in the modern world. Understanding this bias is the first step to consciously working to counteract it by intentionally focusing on the good things in your life. Fact 75. The brain's grit is a neurological trait. The ability to persevere through challenges and stay motivated toward a long-term goal, a quality known as grit, has a neurological basis. It is linked to the brain's prefrontal cortex and its connections to the amygdala. The prefrontal cortex allows you to override your immediate impulses and focus on your long-term goals, while the amygdala helps you manage the emotional discomfort of a challenging task. Individuals with higher levels of grit have stronger neural pathways between these two regions, allowing them to better regulate their emotions and stay on task. This suggests that grit is not just a character trait, it is a measurable neurological ability that can be strengthened over time through practice and discipline. Fact 76. The brain can shape your memories to fit a narrative. When you recall a memory, it is not a perfect replaying of an event. Instead, it is a complex reconstruction influenced by your current emotions, beliefs, and expectations. Your brain often shapes memories to fit a coherent narrative about your life. For example, if you believe you have a difficult childhood, your brain might selectively recall and emphasize negative memories, while downplaying the positive ones. This is not a malicious act. It's the brain's way of creating a consistent self-story. This reconstructive nature of memory explains why multiple people can remember the same event in entirely different ways. Your brain is not a passive recorder. It is an active editor of your personal history. Fact 77. The brain can experience emotional contagion. Have you ever walked into a room and immediately felt the mood of the group? This is a phenomenon called emotional contagion, and it's driven by our mirror neurons and other empathy-related brain regions. Your brain is constantly and subconsciously scanning the faces, body language, and tone of voice of the people around you. When it detects an emotion, it can automatically trigger the same emotion within you. This is why a person's bad mood can quickly spread to others, or why the energy in a room can suddenly shift to excitement. Emotional contagion highlights the profound social interconnectedness of the human brain and our deep, often unconscious, ability to share feelings with those around us. Fact 78. The brain can addict itself to a habit. Habits are not just behaviors, they are deeply ingrained neurological loops. The basal ganglia, a region deep within the brain, is responsible for automating routines. When a behavior is repeated enough, the basal ganglia learns the sequence and turns it into an automatic process, freeing up your prefrontal cortex for other tasks. A habit loop has three parts: a cue, a routine, and a reward. Over time, your brain begins to crave the reward and will automatically trigger the routine when it sees the cue. This is why it can be so hard to break a bad habit. You're not just fighting a behavior, you're fighting a deeply ingrained neurological loop that your brain has automated for efficiency. Fact 79. The brain's attention filter is a limited resource. Your brain's ability to focus is not infinite. A part of your brain called the locus coeruleus acts as a kind of attention filter, deciding what information gets your focus and what is ignored. However, this filter is a limited resource. When you try to multitask, you're not actually doing two things at once. You are rapidly switching your attention back and forth, which is a highly inefficient process. This attention residue makes it harder to focus on the next task and can lead to burnout. Understanding that your brain's attention is a limited resource is the first step to becoming more mindful of how you use it and avoiding the cognitive drain of constant distraction. Fact 80. The brain can be rewired for gratitude. Gratitude is more than just a feeling. It is a state of mind that can be cultivated and has a measurable effect on your brain. When you intentionally practice gratitude, such as by keeping a gratitude journal, you're strengthening the neural pathways that are associated with feelings of happiness and well-being. This practice activates the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, which is involved in processing feelings of reward and social connection. Over time, this makes your brain more likely to notice and appreciate positive things in your life. Gratitude is a powerful tool for neuroplasticity, showing that you can actively train your brain to be more positive, resilient, and focused on the good things in your life. Fact 81. The brain's capacity for learning is not limited by age. For a long time, the prevailing belief was that learning was a process primarily reserved for the young. It was thought that once a person reached adulthood, their brain's ability to create new neural connections and learn new skills was severely diminished. We now know this is a profound and damaging myth. The human brain, thanks to its incredible property of neuroplasticity, maintains its capacity for learning throughout the entire lifespan. This doesn't mean that learning is the same for an adult as it is for a child. A child's brain is like a sponge, rapidly absorbing information and forming an excess of connections, a process that is both fast and messy. An adult brain, on the other hand, is more like a masterful sculptor. It learns by selectively strengthening existing connections and creating new, highly efficient pathways. When an adult learns a new language or a musical instrument, they are not just memorizing facts, they are physically remodeling their brain's architecture. This is facilitated by neurogenesis, the brain's ability to generate new neurons in certain areas, and brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, which acts as a kind of fertilizer for this process. While it may take more effort and intention, the adult brain can acquire new skills with a level of depth and expertise that a child's brain cannot. This understanding has revolutionized fields from education to rehabilitation, offering a powerful message of hope and potential. Your brain is a lifelong learner, and its capacity to grow and adapt is a constant, enduring feature of human life. Fact 82. The brain can simulate social interaction. Long before you engage in a conversation, your brain is already running countless social simulations. A key part of this is the theory of mind, the cognitive ability to attribute mental states, beliefs, desires, intentions, to yourself and others. This complex process allows you to predict how someone might react to a question or how a group dynamic will play out. This social simulation happens primarily in the medial prefrontal cortex and the temporal parietal junction, regions that are crucial for understanding the perspectives of others. When you have a conversation, your brain is not just processing the words you hear, it's constantly simulating the other person's mental state, updating your understanding of their intentions, and adjusting your own responses in real time. This ability to mentally rehearse social interactions is fundamental to our ability to form bonds, navigate complex social hierarchies, and live in a community. It is a silent, continuous rehearsal of the human social contract, allowing us to anticipate, empathize, and connect with the minds around us. Fact 83. Your brain has an inner pharmacy for social connection. Social connection is not just a nice to have, it's a fundamental biological need, and your brain has a powerful, internal system to ensure you get it. The feeling of belonging and closeness is a chemical reward system, driven by hormones like oxytocin and vasopressin. Oxytocin, often called the love hormone, is released during physical touch, from hugging a loved one to giving birth. It promotes feelings of trust, bonding, and empathy. The absence of social connection, on the other hand, triggers a stress response in the brain, releasing cortisol and other stress hormones. This is why social isolation is so damaging to both mental and physical health. The brain's social system is so intertwined with its physical well-being that studies have shown that strong social ties can improve longevity and reduce the risk of diseases. This inner pharmacy shows that our need for connection is as deeply ingrained and biologically essential as our need for food and water. It is a powerful testament to the idea that our brains were not designed for solitude, but for a life lived in community. Fact 84. The brain's creative genius is a balance of inhibition and freedom. Creativity is often thought of as a purely uninhibited, free-flowing process. But a closer look at the brain reveals that true creative genius is a delicate balance of both freedom and control. During creative tasks, like improvisation or brainstorming, the brain's prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for self-judgment and critical thinking, temporarily quiets down. This allows for a kind of cognitive disinhibition, where new and unusual ideas can flow without being immediately censored by the brain's inner critic. However, this is only half the story. Simultaneously, the brain's frontoparietal control network, a system that manages attention and focus, remains highly active. This network helps to select the most promising ideas from the free-flowing stream of consciousness and to organize them into a coherent and useful form. This dual process, a temporary relaxation of control followed by a focused selection and organization, is what distinguishes a true creative breakthrough from simple, aimless daydreaming. It shows that creativity isn't just about letting go. It's about a sophisticated dance between the wild, uninhibited parts of your mind and the focused, disciplined parts. Fact 85. The brain's visual system is a predictive engine. You might believe you see the world as it is, but your brain is actually a master illusionist, constantly predicting what you are about to see before the information even hits your retinas. Your brain doesn't passively wait for visual data to arrive. It actively generates a continuous, internal model of the world based on its past experiences and expectations. The visual information from your eyes then serves as a kind of feedback, constantly correcting and updating this internal model. This is why you can navigate a familiar room in the dark without bumping into things, or why you can recognize a friend's face in a crowd in a fraction of a second. This predictive power is so fast and efficient that when your brain's prediction is wrong, it can create a powerful sense of surprise. This model explains a wide range of optical illusions, where your brain's expectations override the actual sensory data, causing you to see something that isn't really there. The brain's visual system is not just a simple camera. It is a complex, predictive engine that is constantly building and refining its own version of reality. Fact 86. The brain can experience emotional tagging. Your brain has an incredible mechanism for instantly and unconsciously attaching emotions to memories, a process known as emotional tagging. This is handled primarily by the amygdala, a small, almond-shaped region that acts like the brain's emotional alarm system. When you experience a new event, the amygdala rapidly assesses it for emotional significance, assigning a tag of fear, joy, disgust, or any other emotion. This tag is then embedded with the factual memory, which is stored in the hippocampus and other parts of the cortex. This is why a simple smell can instantly transport you back to your childhood, complete with all the feelings of that moment. You're not just recalling a memory, you're re-experiencing the emotional tag that was attached to it years ago. This process is crucial for survival, as it allows you to make quick, emotion-based decisions to avoid a threat or seek out a reward without having to consciously think about it. However, it's also the reason why traumatic memories can be so powerful and difficult to overcome, as the emotional tag can be so strong that it overrides all logical thought. Fact 87. The brain's inner compass is a neurological map. Beyond just navigating the external world, your brain has a built-in GPS system that creates a detailed, internal map of your surroundings. This remarkable ability is the work of specialized cells in the hippocampus and entorhinal cortex. Place cells in the hippocampus fire when you are in a specific location, creating a unique neural signature for that spot. Grid cells in the entorhinal cortex, meanwhile, fire in a hexagonal pattern, creating a kind of mental coordinate system that allows you to calculate your position and distance. When you enter a new room, these cells work together to create a mental map of the space, and they are constantly updated as you move. This inner compass is what allows you to find your way back to your car in a crowded parking lot, even if you weren't consciously paying attention to landmarks. This system is so ancient and fundamental to our survival that it's present in a wide range of species, from rats to bats, and it's a powerful testament to the brain's ability to create a deep and intuitive understanding of the world around it. Fact 88. Your brain can be hypnotized by narrative. The power of a good story is far more than just a matter of entertainment. When you are engrossed in a narrative, your brain becomes highly susceptible to suggestion. This is because the brain's default mode network, which is responsible for your sense of self and your critical judgment, temporarily quiets down. At the same time, the brain's mirror neuron system and empathy circuits become highly active, allowing you to not only understand the characters but to feel as if you are living their experiences. This neurological state is similar to a light hypnotic trance. When your brain is in this state, you become more open to new ideas and perspectives, as the brain's usual filters are relaxed. This is why stories are such a powerful tool for teaching, for social connection, and for changing beliefs. A well-told story can bypass your logical defenses and go straight to the heart of your emotional and belief systems, allowing you to feel and experience something that is not even real. Fact 89. The brain's reward prediction error drives learning. Learning is not just about gaining new information. It's about making and correcting predictions. A key mechanism for this is the reward prediction error, which is the difference between what your brain expects to happen and what actually happens. This process is driven by dopamine. When a reward is greater than expected, your brain releases a burst of dopamine, which acts as a powerful signal to update your internal model of the world and reinforces the behavior that led to the reward. If a reward is less than expected, the dopamine signal drops, telling the brain that it needs to adjust its expectations for the future. This continuous feedback loop of prediction and correction is the engine of all learning, from mastering a new skill to understanding a social dynamic. This mechanism explains why games, which are built on a system of unpredictable rewards, can be so addictive. Your brain is a perpetual prediction machine, and the feeling of surprise or satisfaction is simply the neurological signal that it has learned something new. 90. The brain can filter your reality based on beliefs. Your brain doesn't just process sensory information, it actively filters it to match your existing beliefs and expectations. This phenomenon is known as confirmation bias, and it's a powerful and often unconscious process. When your brain encounters new information, it's more likely to notice, remember, and accept information that confirms what it already believes to be true. Conversely, it is more likely to ignore or reject information that challenges its existing beliefs. This is a form of cognitive efficiency. Your brain is trying to maintain a consistent and coherent view of the world. However, this filtering can also be a major barrier to learning and to changing your mind. It can lead to you living in a kind of cognitive bubble, where you are only exposed to information that reinforces your existing beliefs. Overcoming this requires a conscious effort to seek out new perspectives and to critically evaluate the information you receive, even if it feels uncomfortable. It's a testament to the brain's constant work to create a consistent reality, and a reminder that the world you perceive is not a perfect reflection, but a filtered and edited version. Fact 91. The brain's inner GPS is a cognitive map of time. Your brain's internal navigation system doesn't just work for physical spaces, it also creates a cognitive map of time. This is why you can have a sense of where a particular memory fits in your life story, knowing that your high school graduation came after your first school play. This mental timeline is a complex construction, orchestrated by the medial prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus. These regions work together to tag memories with a temporal context, allowing you to mentally travel through time to recall past events and imagine future ones. This cognitive ability, known as mental time travel, is unique to humans and is a core component of our consciousness. It's what allows us to learn from our past mistakes, plan for the future, and create a coherent narrative of our lives. This intricate time map is not a simple clock. It is a subjective, flexible, and deeply personal representation of your experiences, highlighting the brain's incredible capacity to give order and meaning to the chaos of life. Fact 92. Your brain can be hypnotized by routine. Routines are not just a part of your daily life. They are deeply ingrained neurological loops that can put your brain on autopilot. This is driven by the basal ganglia, a region that is responsible for habit formation. When you repeat a behavior in response to a cue and receive a reward, the basal ganglia learns the sequence and turns it into an automatic process, freeing up your prefrontal cortex for more complex tasks. This is why you can brush your teeth or drive to work without having to consciously think about every single step. This process, however, is a double-edged sword. While it makes your life more efficient, it's also why bad habits can be so hard to break. You are not just fighting a behavior, you are fighting a deeply ingrained neurological loop that your brain has automated for efficiency. Understanding this can be a powerful tool for changing your habits. By consciously identifying the cue and the reward, you can intentionally reprogram the routine to create new, healthier habits. This shows that your brain is not just a creature of habit, it is a masterful programmer of its own behaviors. Fact 93. The brain's emotional vocabulary is physically wired. The way you describe your emotions is not just a matter of language, it is a reflection of how your brain is physically wired. When you learn to label your emotions with words, like sadness, anger, or joy, you are strengthening the connections between your emotional centers, the amygdala, and your language centers, the prefrontal cortex. This process, known as affect labeling, gives you a greater sense of control over your emotions. When you can name a feeling, you are literally creating a new neural pathway that allows you to think about that emotion rather than just react to it. This is a core component of emotional intelligence and is why talking about your feelings can be so therapeutic. It's a powerful tool for neuroplasticity, showing that you can actively train your brain to have a more sophisticated and nuanced relationship with your own emotional world. Fact 94. The brain's inner critic can be a survival mechanism. That voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough or that you're going to fail is a product of your brain's evolutionary history. This inner critic, which is primarily a function of the default mode network, evolved to help you anticipate potential social or personal failures. In a tribal world, social rejection could be a death sentence, so the brain developed a mechanism to constantly evaluate your behavior and warn you about potential mistakes. While this mechanism once served a crucial purpose, in the modern world, it can be a source of anxiety and unhappiness. However, understanding its origins can help you to manage it. You can learn to observe this voice without judgment, recognizing that it is simply an ancient alarm system, and you can consciously choose to cultivate a more compassionate inner dialogue. This shows that while your brain's default setting may be one of caution, you have the power to consciously rewire it for self-compassion. Fact 95. The brain's flow state is a state of optimal performance. When you are so engrossed in a task that you lose all track of time and self-awareness, your brain is in a state of flow. During this state, your brain enters a temporary state of cognitive disinhibition, where the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for self-judgment and critical thinking, temporarily deactivates. This allows you to act more intuitively and creatively, without your inner critic getting in the way. At the same time, the brain releases a powerful cocktail of neurochemicals, including dopamine and norepinephrine, that make the experience intensely rewarding and increase your focus. Flow is not just a feeling, it is a measurable brain state that maximizes our productivity, focus, and sense of fulfillment. It is a powerful testament to the brain's capacity to create its own internal conditions for peak performance, showing that the key to unlocking your full potential lies not in trying harder, but in finding a state of effortless focus.
Elbette, beynin gizemli dünyasına dair daha fazla detaya inmeye devam edelim. Her bir maddeyi, önceki isteklerinize uygun şekilde, yaklaşık 500 kelime civarında, derinlemesine ve detaylı bir şekilde işleyerek metni genişletiyorum. Her 5 maddelik setten sonra durup, devamını istediğinizde yeni maddelerle döneceğim.
Fact 96. The brain's ultimate defense, emotional numbness. In the face of extreme trauma or overwhelming stress, the brain has an extraordinary and often misunderstood defense mechanism, emotional numbness. This is far more than a simple feeling of detachment. It's a profound neurological state where the brain, particularly the amygdala, the emotional alarm center, and the prefrontal cortex, the logic and control center, temporarily downregulates or even shuts down emotional processing. Imagine a circuit breaker flipping off to prevent a system from shorting out. That's what happens in your brain. This mechanism is a vital, short-term survival tool. It allows a person to endure a horrific event, such as a major accident or a physical assault, without being instantly paralyzed by terror or despair. By going numb, the brain can prioritize basic survival functions, enabling the person to flee, fight, or simply endure. However, this protective state is designed to be temporary. If it persists, it can become a symptom of conditions like post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, where the brain remains in a state of emotional shutdown, preventing the person from processing and healing from the trauma. The path to recovery often involves a slow, careful, and intentional process of re-engaging the emotional centers, allowing the brain to safely process the emotions that were put on hold. This shows the brain's incredible capacity to protect itself, but also highlights the complex challenges that can arise when a short-term survival tool becomes a long-term neurological habit. Fact 97. Your brain's negativity bias can be overcome with intentional practice. Your brain is not a neutral observer of reality. It is hardwired to focus on the negative. This negativity bias is a deep-seated evolutionary trait. For our ancestors, paying attention to threats, the rustle in the grass, the scowl on a stranger's face, was a matter of life or death. The brain developed to be a highly effective danger detection machine, assigning more weight and memorability to negative experiences than to positive ones. This is why a single harsh criticism can feel so much more impactful than a dozen compliments. However, in our modern world, where survival is less about avoiding saber-toothed tigers and more about navigating complex social and emotional landscapes, this bias can be a significant source of anxiety, stress, and unhappiness. The good news is that this bias is not a permanent, unchangeable feature of your brain. Thanks to neuroplasticity, you can actively work to counteract it. By intentionally practicing gratitude, focusing on small wins, and consciously seeking out positive experiences, you are physically strengthening the neural pathways associated with optimism and well-being. This is not just positive thinking. It is a form of cognitive training that can literally rewire your brain over time. By understanding that your brain's default setting is one of caution, you can choose to become the conscious architect of your own mental landscape. Fact 98. Optimism is a neurological habit you can cultivate. Optimism isn't just a cheerful disposition. It's a neurological habit that can be developed and strengthened. When you have an optimistic thought, believing that a project will succeed or that a difficult situation will improve, you are activating and strengthening specific neural pathways in your prefrontal cortex. This region, which is responsible for planning, decision-making, and emotional regulation, becomes more active and efficient. Conversely, a pessimistic or anxious thought activates a different set of pathways, often centered in the amygdala, leading to a cycle of negative thinking and stress. This is why a person who is habitually pessimistic can find themselves in a self-reinforcing loop of negativity. However, just as you can learn a new language, you can learn to be more optimistic. By intentionally practicing gratitude, focusing on solutions instead of problems, and surrounding yourself with positive people, you are physically remodeling your brain to be more inclined toward optimism. The more you use these positive pathways, the stronger they become. This shows that your mental state is not fixed. It is a dynamic process that you can actively influence through your thoughts and behaviors, giving you a powerful tool for improving your mental and emotional well-being. Fact 99. Your brain's inner critic is an ancient alarm system. That nagging voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough or that you're going to fail is a product of your brain's default mode network and its self-referential nature. This inner critic is a holdover from our evolutionary history. In a tribal world, social rejection could mean exile and a swift death. So the brain developed a powerful mechanism to constantly evaluate your behavior and warn you about potential mistakes that could lead to social ostracism. This inner critic's primary purpose was to keep you safe and to ensure you fit in. While this mechanism once served a crucial purpose, in the modern world, it can be a significant source of anxiety and self-doubt. However, understanding its origins can help you to manage it. You can learn to observe this voice without judgment, recognizing that it is simply an ancient alarm system that is trying to protect you, even if its methods are no longer relevant. By consciously choosing to cultivate a more compassionate inner dialogue and to challenge the inner critic's assumptions, you are physically rewiring the neural pathways that support it. This shows that while your brain's default setting may be one of caution, you have the power to consciously choose a path of self-compassion. Fact 100. The human brain is a social organ. The human brain is not a solitary entity. It is a fundamentally social organ, designed for connection and shaped by interaction. From the moment you are born, your brain is wired to seek out belonging. The same brain regions that process physical pain also process social rejection, which is why being left out or feeling lonely can hurt as much as a physical wound. Strong social bonds and a sense of community are not just feel-good concepts, they are essential for brain health and cognitive function. Studies have shown that people with strong social ties have a lower risk of cognitive decline and live longer. Conversely, social isolation can have a devastating impact on the brain, increasing stress hormones and impairing cognitive abilities. The human brain, in all its complexity, is fundamentally a product of connection, communication, and collaboration. It is in the shared universe of human experience that its true potential is unlocked. This final fact brings us full circle, from the individual cosmos within our heads to the vast, interconnected network of minds that makes up the human experience. So, we arrive at the final moment of our shared journey. We began this voyage not by looking outward at the cosmos of stars and planets, but by turning our gaze inward, to the quiet, 3-pound universe nestled within our own skulls. We are now at the precipice of a new understanding, a newfound reverence for the most incredible object in all of creation, the human brain. As we started, I asked you to imagine holding a living brain in your hands. A fragile, unassuming mass, the texture of soft tofu. It is a thought that is both strange and humbling. What we have learned is that this humble substance, weighing less than a bag of sugar, is the silent architect of everything that makes you, you. It is the repository of every whispered memory, the silent composer of every song you love, the weaver of every dream you have ever chased. We learned that its plain, pinkish-gray exterior hides the most intricate and complex structure known to exist. It is a world of billions of living, breathing neurons, and trillions upon trillions of connections. A universe contained within a whisper. We dove deep into the microscopic world of this silent city. We journeyed to the heart of the neuron, that single, intricate cell, which we likened to a tree of life. We learned that its branches, the dendrites, are perpetually listening, receiving signals from thousands of other cells. We saw the long, slender axon, speaking on behalf of the neuron, sending out tiny sparks of electrical information. This, we discovered, is the fundamental language of thought. But it was in the silence between these sparks, in the infinitesimally small gap of the synapse, that the true magic unfolded. This gap, no wider than 20 nanometers, is where the brain's chemical symphony truly plays. Here, we saw the famous neurotransmitters, dopamine, serotonin, and adrenaline, leap across the chasm, carrying not just data, but emotion, memory, and mood. This is where learning happens. This is where you, as a conscious being, are fundamentally formed. Our journey then led us to the staggering scale of the brain. We grappled with the number 86 billion neurons, a number that rivals the stars in our galaxy, and we were utterly humbled by the number of connections, over 100 trillion synapses. We called this the connectome, the ultimate wiring diagram of the human mind. We realized that every experience you have, every skill you learn, every conversation you hold, is not just an event. It is a physical act of sculpting your brain. You are, at every moment, the sculptor and the sculpture, the artist and the masterpiece. The brain is not a static organ. It is a river, constantly flowing and changing, its banks shaped by the very thoughts it carries. We saw the brain's incredible support system. We shed a light on the glial cells, the unsung heroes once thought to be mere glue. We learned that these cells are the diligent caretakers, the bodyguards, the maintenance crew, and the essential infrastructure that makes the city of the mind habitable. We discovered their most vital, beautiful function, the glymphatic system, a nightly cleaning service that flushes out the day's metabolic waste while you are deep in sleep. This fact alone gives new meaning to the phrase beauty sleep. It is a reminder that rest is not passive. It is an active, vital process of renewal. We then explored the brain's astonishing powers of adaptation. We learned about neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to rewire itself throughout your entire life. This is a fact that should fill you with hope. It means that your capacity for learning, for healing from trauma, for changing your habits, and for forging new paths is not limited by age. Your brain is a living testament to the power of change. We also saw its more subtle but equally profound abilities to predict the future, to fill in missing senses, and to create emotional memories that precede facts. We learned that the brain's reality is not a perfect mirror of the world, but a highly sophisticated, and at times beautifully fallible, construction. We also touched upon the deeper, more spiritual questions that the brain presents. We saw that feelings of awe, of transcendence, and of deep empathy have a neurological basis. They are not merely feelings, they are a complex symphony of brain regions working in perfect harmony, temporarily quieting the parts of the brain that separate you from the rest of the world. We learned about mirror neurons, the quiet, neurological link that binds us to one another, allowing us to feel and understand the emotions of those around us. This, we realized, is the fundamental basis for human compassion. And so, we end where we began, with the ultimate mystery. Everything you have ever felt, every memory you cherish, every dream you've chased, and the very sense of you that has been listening to my voice, was born from this quiet, 3-pound cosmos. It is a world of water, fat, and electricity, and it is a universe of consciousness, memory, and spirit. It is the architect of our reality, the weaver of our thoughts, and the silent composer of our lives. You are not just a person. You are a cosmos of potential. You are a city that never sleeps. You are an enchanted loom that is constantly weaving the masterpiece of your life. Thank you for joining me on this profound journey into the quiet corners of discovery. For now, just rest in the knowledge of the universe you carry within you, quietly humming with the electricity of life.